Hey everybody, and welcome back to Nameless Reviews. Today we've got another movie for you. We're going to be taking a look at Greenland, a movie that has been delayed multiple times this year but has finally been released on a couple different streaming services. Before getting into the review, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews like this. And let's go ahead and get into the review of Greenland. Greenland is a disaster film that was directed by Rick Roman Waugh and written by Chris Sparling. The movie was co-produced by Gerard Butler, and he stars in the movie alongside Morena Baccarin. The movie follows John Garrity, played by Gerard Butler, as he and his family struggle to survive a world-ending comet that hurtles towards the Earth. The movie is for sure a disaster movie, and there is without a doubt a spectacle with some of the special effects, but what makes this movie different is the emphasis on the characters. I was pleasantly surprised to find this was not just a regular disaster movie. I sort of came into this thinking I was going to be looking at like 2012 or Armageddon, and I was actually pleasantly surprised at what we got. The main focus of the movie stays with the main characters throughout, while the comet remains in the backdrop. Now, typically movies like this make the special effects the focus, but the movie really follows the family as they try to stay together and survive. Now, in terms of the script, it's a really well-written movie. The choice to emphasize the disaster through the eyes of one specific family rather than like military leaders and various groups of people from around the country was not a choice I was expecting, but what that allowed them to do was have real character-driven moments, and the dynamic between this family and those they come into contact with added some real tension because we cared about that family. So this movie went beyond just a comet headed towards the Earth and the tension that would come from that, but it was more personal stakes with this family. I thought it really worked, and I thought it was pretty refreshing. Now, the movie did drag a little bit towards the end, and the ending to me was a little bit predictable, but I suppose that comes with the territory with a disaster movie. That being said, the lead up to that ending is really good and intense. So for plot and script, I'm going to go ahead and give Greenland a 7 out of 10. Now for acting, Gerard Butler is serviceable as the lead in the movie, and this movie is directed by Rick Roman Waugh, who also directed Angel Has Fallen, so they sort of have a history of working together. Gerard Butler really isn't a badass in this movie like he is in other movies. He's playing more of an everyday kind of guy who's trying to protect his family, and I would say he does a good job. It just probably isn't his strength as an actor. For some reason, I can't get Leonidas yelling "This is Sparta" out of my head when I see him act. That might be my problem, but it's hard when he's trying to take on a little bit more of a dramatic role for me to kind of separate him from some of his previous roles, just because he doesn't strike me as a dramatic style actor. Morena Baccarin is really good as Allison Garrity, his wife. She plays a loving but sometimes kind of oblivious mom. Her character is written sometimes as naive, I guess that's the right word I'd look for, but she does a good job in the role. The real star, in my opinion, is the young actor named Roger Dale Floyd, who plays their son, Nathan Garrity. Now, he's often scared, as he would be in this circumstance, but his acting, the way that he acts without really talking, his nonverbal acting was really good for me. I thought he stole the show. I thought he was fantastic, actually. The movie is well acted, but I wouldn't say that anything is like super dynamic or world-changing. I'd rank the acting in Greenland as a 7 out of 10. Now, as I mentioned, the film is directed by Rick Roman Waugh, whose filmography is filled with action movies. He's a former stuntman, and typically his movies are a little bit more action-oriented. Greenland is not an action film in the same way that many of his other movies are. But that's not to say that there isn't action. The thing that stands out to me from a directorial standpoint is the deliberate emphasis on keeping the film character-focused. The spectacle of the comet is there, and we get to see some cool special effect shots around it, but the film is shot with a handheld camera for the most part, which gives a very realistic and intense feeling to the movie. It feels gritty and realistic, and I think these were really good choices for this particular film. I think the way this was shot and the general feel of the film are some of the highlights. I'm going to give Greenland an 8 out of 10 for direction and cinematography. Now, with set design and special effects, this is kind of a mixed bag. Disaster movies tend to rely very heavily on special effects, and they tend to have huge budgets to make that happen. Greenland is not a low-budget film, but it's certainly not a blockbuster with a $150 million budget. They spent roughly $35 million to make the film, and while the special effects are not terrible, they're not great either. They are not going to blow you away, and they are certainly not like top-tier disaster movie style special effects. So if you're looking for like a special effects driven film that's going to wow you with its realism or awe you with crazy spectacle, this really isn't the movie for you. The effects are a little bit more subtle. They're not the main focus of the film. Like I said, it's more on the characters. And the special effects are serviceable, but they're not amazing. For special effects and design, I'm going to give Greenland a 6 out of 10. Now let's talk about the score. David Buckley scored Greenland, and he's a very accomplished composer. I'm a big fan of some of his other work, and he's actually scoring the Wheel of Time TV series based on the popular book series by Robert Jordan. That's a show that's going to be coming out on Amazon. I actually have another YouTube channel entirely dedicated to that series, to the Wheel of Time. If you want to check that out, I will have that linked in the description of the video. That's my main YouTube channel. This is kind of my new one here. But back to the movie. In Greenland, Buckley is real subtle with the score. He mostly uses soft tones to underscore the more emotional and character-focused plot, so the music is not really overwhelming. It really does pick up what it needs to, though, and most of the time, though, you're really not going to notice the score. So I wouldn't say this is my favorite work from David Buckley as a composer, and you're certainly not going to walk away from this remembering the score. Like, it doesn't have anything that you're going to stays with you. But this is a movie where they didn't want the music front and center, so I think he accomplished what they set out to. I'm going to give this score for Greenland a 6 out of 10. So I was also really surprised at the level I was able to connect with this movie. I would certainly not say that this is a movie you're going to be deeply connected to on an emotional level, but for its genre, it does particularly well here. With a movie focusing on seeing the disaster through just a few characters' viewpoints, the stakes are more real. We get to see the lengths that not only the protagonists go to protect their family, but also the lengths that others are going to do to protect themselves. And I think we do get a glimpse of how people would react in the face of destruction. I was particularly moved by a scene very early in the movie where a military woman talks to Allison and tells her that she was not selected to go to safety and that the vast majority of the military are volunteering knowing they're not going to survive. I actually got some feels there. I felt like it was a pretty good moment. Again, at its core, this is still a disaster movie, but it's a more character-focused disaster movie. It's not going to leave you broken emotionally or anything, but it is far from a brainless disaster flick. I'm going to give Greenland a 6 out of 10 for emotion and connection. Lastly, is Greenland fun and rewatchable? It's certainly not boring. It's certainly something that's going to keep your interest, and I think it's a fun watch. Disaster movies are usually fun, especially if they're at least moderately well made, and I'd say Greenland falls into this category. It's a movie I think I could watch again another time and enjoy, but it's not a movie that I'm dying to see again immediately, or one that I'm going to be dying to show somebody because of just how incredible and fun it is. I'm going to give Greenland a 6.5 out of 10 for fun and rewatchability. So overall, Greenland is a disaster movie that skews more towards being a good movie than a bad one. Something that typically can't be said for most films in that genre. What it is not is a special effects driven film that's designed to blow your socks off with special effects and have hollow characters. Greenland will appeal to you if you like movies that have action but are focused on character. Greenland is more than a decent film, and it's something I would recommend. Just make sure your expectations are right. Overall, Greenland gets an average score of 6.6 out of 10. If you've already seen Greenland, what did you think of the movie? Let me know in the comments. If not, is this a movie that you would want to watch? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Also, I'll be doing lots of reviews of older movies until the movie industry gets back up to full go. So let me know some of the older movies you'd like me to review. I'll do my best to get to them. I have sort of a list I'm going to get through here, but I will also be tackling new movies as they come out. Again, make sure to like the video if you liked it, and absolutely hit the subscribe button to be updated when I release more reviews and retrospectives. Just by hitting the subscribe button, you greatly help the channel grow, so thank you for that. Thank you everybody for watching, and until next time, peace out.